Welcome to Microbiology. In this introductory video, we're going to look at understanding what microbiology is, what microorganisms are, and why microbes are important. You might be surprised to learn just how important microbes are. They're going to help us with food digestion. They protect us from disease. They even help us produce vitamins, for instance. Microbes are going to be found to be essential for breaking down waste and recycling nutrients to support plant growth. In medicine, microbes are used to create antibiotics and new therapies. In certain industries, like food industry, they're major players because you're needed it for yogurt and cheese, bread. They're even important for producing or making biofuels. Of course, not all microbes are going to be good for us or friendly. Some cause infection and disease, and that's why understanding them is so critical for us in the public health. So first, let's start talking about what is microbiology. Microbiology is the study of organisms that are just too small to be seen with the naked eye. Now, they might be small, but they are going to have a lot of functions. We just say they're small but mighty. Microbes are going to include the bacteria, the viruses, fungi, protozoa, and algae. And we're going to find that microbes are found everywhere, and as we already have discussed, they're going to be crucial for health and for the environment. So a term we often use with microbes is ambiguous, and to be ambiguous means that they're going to be found everywhere. They're going to be found in large numbers, and we're even going to be able to find them in extreme environments like the deep sea vents and polar ice. So it's not just in the air we breathe or the water or our skin, it's everywhere you're going to be able to find them. There are three major classifications or types of microbes that we're going to be looking at: eukaryotics, prokaryotics, and viruses. So let's take a little closer look at each one, and we're going to begin with the eukaryotic cells. Now, eukaryotic cells are a big group. They can be either microscopic or macroscopic. We're going to be looking at the microscopic ones that are going to be between that 10 and 100 micrometers. Now, they are called eukaryotic cells. The karyote means nucleus. Eu means new. So they are the new cells because they were nucleated. So in this, the eukaryotic cells are going to have true nuclei. They're going to be more complex in cellular composition than the others because they're going to have those organelles like the mitochondria, the nucleus, the chloroplast. And as we said, they're going to be multicellular or large unicellular organisms. Now, prokaryotes, again, karyote means nucleus, so they're going to be before or pre-nuclei. So these are not going to have a nucleus. So one of the key traits is they are non-nucleated. So they're going to be more simple in structure. They're also going to be smaller, about 10 times smaller than that eukaryote, being about 0.1 to 5 micrometers. They have two different domains, the bacteria and the archaea. The bacteria are going to be found nearly everywhere. They're going to be common in soils, waters, human body, and these are going to be the group that can be pathogenic. Now, when we look at the archaea are going to live in more extreme environments, and they're going to be like those hot springs, salty lakes, and they are not going to be causing human disease because they're not going to live in that normal environment that's maintained by the human body. They're going to have unique biochemical features, and unlike bacteria, which most are going to have a typical cell wall, many of the archaea are not going to have that same feature. And then our third group, these are going to be the viruses, and viruses don't fit neatly into either of those other categories because they are acellular. They're not made of cells. They can't live independently. So because they are acellular and they don't live independently, they're not even considered to be living organisms by all scientists. So What domain? They don't belong in a domain because they are acellular. But what are viruses? The HIV virus, influenza, SARS, you all have knowledge of various viruses. But some of the key traits, again, they're non-cellular. They do contain or are composed of hereditary material. That's going to be DNA or RNA. They don't have both. They will have a protein coat. Some of them will have a membrane, and we're going to dive deeper into that virus structure in one of our later units. So one of the things is they do require a host. They cannot survive outside of that host, and that's why many don't consider them to be living. So as we're looking and in this introduction, it's just important and helpful to understand how the three different classifications look and to compare them just a little bit so that as we get deeper into the various subjects in this course, it will make sense. So our three main categories or classifications are eukaryotic, prokaryotic, and viruses. The eukaryotes and prokaryotes, they are cellular, so they are going to be considered living, where viruses are acellular and not considered living by many. The size, obviously, eukaryotes are going to be quite large, being 10 to 100 micrometers. Prokaryotes are 10 times smaller than eukaryotes, and viruses are even smaller than that. The eukaryotic cells, they're going to be more complex. They're going to have those organelles where prokaryotes and viruses don't. And then obviously, the eukaryotes and the prokaryotes, as we've already discussed, have a domain. The eukarya for the eukaryotic cells, and the prokaryotics, that's going to be our bacteria and the archaea. And as we've already mentioned, viruses do not belong in a domain because they are acellular. So with that, we are going to now, you need to go in and look at the history of microbiology and the chemical composition or the chemistry of microbes to finish up Chapter 1.